And hey folks, me again, back again with another video today. I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be reacting to Viking rituals, so I hope y'all enjoy the video. Like, subscribe, follow me on Amino, TikTok, and Discord, and enough chit chat. Let's begin, shall we?
Hello everyone, this is Freya and welcome to a new episode of A Discovery of Nordic Witchcraft. In today's episode we are going to talk about Viking rituals.
Looks like a Viking cabin. Raven skulls. Okay.
Religion and spiritual practice were a big part of the Viking culture and everyday life. Their religious beliefs included so many gods and goddesses that it is considered a non-doctrinal community religion. This means that the Viking beliefs and rituals varied among people. Although they all had the same gods and beliefs, there were no set practices that had to be followed, and people worshipped only the gods that were actually relevant to their lives. Vikings worshipped their dead ancestors, communicated with the spirits, practiced divination and sorcery. This resulted in a wide range of ritual practices. The Vikings passed on knowledge through oral history rather than writing things down. This means that accounts
That explains why they didn't write anything down.
either written by outsiders who may not fully have understood what they were witnessing,
And they didn't wear horn hats.
or written long after the Viking period had passed. Descriptions of rituals are indeed sometimes conflicting, potentially inaccurate, but as a person who has spent all her university career researching this topic, among many others, I will give you here the 5 rituals that are generally considered to have been practiced by the Vikings. Number 1, blood sacrifice. This blood sacrifice was a sacrifice practiced to gain the goodwill of the gods. These rituals were carried out in large groups on the estate of the local chief, who functioned as a priest during the ceremony. They were both a way for people to honor the gods and for the chiefs to show off their wealth. A blot supposedly happened at 4 fixed times a year, close to winter solstice, spring equinox, summer solstice, and autumn equinox. They would also have additional ones if they were having problems like a bad harvest. In the 13th century, Snorre Sturluson wrote a detailed description of a blot. He said that all the local farmers gathered at the temple. There, they sacrificed many animals, mostly horses, and they cooked the meat. Twigs were used to spray the blood around the temple and on the participants. They cooked meat, and glasses of beer were blessed by the chief. While drinking the beer, they toasted to Odin and, of course, other gods. And lastly, they toasted to their dead ancestors. Ritual number 2, human sacrifice. Though not a common part of Viking life, human sacrifice was practiced at times. Some archaeological remains indicate that human sacrifice did happen occasionally. According to what I have researched, there was a tradition practiced in Uppsala, Sweden, every 9 years at the beginning lasted 9 days, with a feast and a sacrifice every day. There were 9 sacrifices every day for a total of 81 sacrifices. Each day they sacrificed a male human and a male animals. The bodies were hung from the trees in a sacred grove that was next to the temple in which the ritual was carried out. This tradition was practiced to honor Odin and secure victory in the coming year. Although they normally sacrificed criminals and slaves, they only sacrificed one king at Uppsala during a time of extreme famine. Number 3, Yule celebrations. Yule, J-O-L in Old Norse, was the name for the period between the winter solstice and the blot associated with it, which is speculated to have happened on January 12th. It is uncertain exactly why Yule was celebrated, though it may have been to receive good luck in the new year, to celebrate the sun and the light as the days were getting longer, or to honor Thor, as he was the god who protected the world from the darkness. Drinking alcohol was probably the largest part of the celebration. Vikings would make a large sun wheel, set it on fire, and roll it down a hill to get the sun to return. They made Yule logs from large pieces of oak, decorated with yew, holly, or fir, and carved runes into them. This was their way to ask the gods for protection, and a small piece was kept until next Yule to protect the family and start the first fire of the new year. They decorated evergreen trees with food, clothes, and carvings of runes to get the tree spirits to return in spring. Ritual number 4, Truth Modification. Vikings put great effort into their appearance, with practices such as bleaching the hair with lye and ironing their clothes with hot rocks. Vikings also modified their teeth. Skeletons show signs of intentional changes in the form of horizontal lines carved into the upper front teeth. The grooves were filled in with dye, most likely red. This practice was not seen anywhere else in Europe at the time. This may have been a ritual conducted by warriors to incite fear into those they were about to attack, as a symbol of achievement. However, there are no written records about this practice, so further information about this kind of ritual and any associated tradition are still unknown. Ritual number 5, wedding ceremonies. Before a wedding, the bride would remove her kans, a gilt circlet worn by unwed women with their hair loose. She would likely replace this with a wedding crown, and her crowns would be saved for her future daughter. These crowns were usually made of silver, adorned with rock crystals and elaborate designs such as crosses and clover leaves, and draped with red and green garland silk cords. A woman's hair was very, very important in the Viking culture, and usually it was the longer, the better. The groom would have to acquire a sword from his ancestors. During the ceremony, the groom would carry his sword and possibly a hammer to symbolize Thor. The wedding would be held on a Friday, as it was Frigg's Day. Frigg was a goddess of fertility. The ceremony would start by getting the gods' attention, possibly by sacrificing or dedicating an animal to one of the gods. If a sacrifice was necessary, Vikings would use animals associated to the gods of fertility. For Thor, a goat, Freyr, a horse. The animal's blood was collected in a bowl and placed on the altar. A bundle of fir twigs was dipped into the blood, which was used to sprinkle the couple, conferring the blessings of the gods. In same cases, animals were dedicated as living gifts. During the ceremony, the groom would give his sword from his ancestors to his bride, so that she could keep it for their future son. They would then exchange rings and vows. After the ceremony, they would head to a hall to feast. Here the groom would help his bride over the threshold before he plunged his sword into a pillar. The deeper it went in, the more luck and children they would have. The couple had to share some bridal ale that night and for the next month. At the end of the feast, the couple would be accompanied to bed so that the witnesses could testify that their union has been consummated. The next morning, the bride's hair would be tied up and covered with a cloth to show her status as a wife. The groom would then give her the keys to the house. Vikings' wedding traditions were very complex. Marriage was the heart of the family structure in Viking culture, hence the intricate nature of Viking rituals. In old poems and stories that talked about weddings, there are included ancient wedding wordings such as the groom weds the wife and makes her the lady of the house, to live together under one blanket and on one sheet. A very beautiful metaphor about family life indeed. Sorry guys if in this video some wind has accompanied the recording. We are expecting another severe storm here in Arctic Norway, so I am very sorry if here and there you might have heard the wind. I'm outside in my gamme. It's very nice and warm in here, but looking outside, the storm is really coming. The wind is howling, and I can see that the trees are shaken by the power of the wind. I'm gonna head over inside. It's been great. I thought I would have not managed to record this today, but I'm happy that I did. Thank you so very much for understanding that.
Hope you'll enjoy, like, subscribe, follow me on TikTok and Discord, and I'll see you next video.